turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. We put the balls in the breaks. I'm talking one chance at best, yes. Painting pictures for the culture, keep the brushes fresh. Flip the cover, work the drummer, passion never rests. Freedom is our teacher under pressure, now we blessed. See, I was so good for the goal. There's one art, one shot, now the future is yours. Go! Yeah, it's one art, one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of Gymnastics Growth TV. Hope everyone's doing well today, wherever you are in the world. In fact, I'd love to know. Stick it in the comments, let me know where you're watching from. I'd really enjoy having a look at that and just hope that everyone is doing well today. Looking forward to some optimistic news, hopefully towards the end of this week, certainly if you're in the UK. Hopefully relaxing the lockdown a little bit would be absolutely wonderful, but we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about gymnastics, of course. Before I get into the bulk of today's content, I'd love it if you could share this video. It would really help me out to get the messages, of course, spread out to the wider gymnastics community across your networks as well. So if you wouldn't mind taking a minute just to share this video, of course, before I even get started, then I would be most grateful for that. So please just drop it in the comments. Let me know where you are in the world. I know we've got Hiroki from Japan. Hello, buddy. Hope you're doing well watching. Plenty of UK viewers as well, and it might be a little bit early in the morning for other parts of the world or late at night. Okay, but thanks very much for being here. And what I'd like to talk about today is going to be about our measure of success as coaches. So how do we, as coaches, measure how successful we are? Okay, and there isn't really right or wrong, although there are sort of areas, I guess, which are questionable or grey, which we're going to talk about today. But everyone's going to have their own individual measure of how they deem to be successful as a coach. And as I'm saying things and as things are popping up, if you've got a thought or a comment or a question, just stick it in the comment section, because I'm going to scroll through later and engage with those, answer some of those questions, hopefully live. And it will just be, I think, really interesting to hear what you think about this topic. Not just interesting for me, but maybe the other listeners as well. We've got people from Australia watching. Hi, Kylie. Dubai, awesome. South Africa, fantastic. So yeah, we've got an international audience already. Thanks for being here, much appreciated. So, measure of success, sport, coaching. Now we're often, of course, pulled towards results, as in competition results being our measure of success. And that is what we call being outcome focused. So we're focusing on what the outcome is, the end result, which is, of course, the competition result or the tournament result or the match or whatever that might be. Either a win or a lose or a gold medal or a silver medal, whatever that looks like, it's an outcome. And as coaches, often we think, okay, the more successful my athlete is in terms of their competition results, the more successful I am as a coach, okay? So if my athlete wins this competition, then I will be successful because they've achieved the outcome. And of course, there's a lot of kudos that comes with that sometimes. So what we want to be focusing on, ideally, is actually thinking about the process, which is what I'm going to allude to today. But the problem is we don't win medals for the process. Okay, within sport, nobody is dishing out medals for the best training environment, okay, the happier athletes, the healthiest athletes. No one's dishing out medals for those. It's all about the outcome, which is part of the problem, okay? Another example, Formula One. You don't win by having the smoothest gear changes or, the smoothest angles around a corner. It's all about speed. You win by literally being on the podium at the end, by being the fastest car. That is the outcome that you're looking for. Now, of course, the process is what helps you to get to that outcome. But actually, there are processes which you can follow, which are unethical, which will still help you achieve an outcome. For example, shouting at athletes. Fear is a great motivator. There are a lot of athletes that will work extremely hard through fear of their coach. And so the coach is enforcing a process which will help them achieve the outcome, and they're willing to go through that process and enforce that process and coach in that way because they're more worried about the outcome than the process itself. Okay? So, with us not winning for having the least amount of injuries, with us not winning for having the happiest athletes, there is this, of course, focus and attention on results itself. Okay? But what I really want us to be doing today, I'm just checking my notes to make sure that I'm covering everything, is not to measure our success as a coach, okay, by the results that the athlete has. Now, what I'm not saying on this call is that we shouldn't strive for high performance results and that we shouldn't be competitive and we shouldn't want to win medals. If that's part of your makeup, if that's part of what's exciting about this and kind of why you do it, I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. Okay, as long as, of course, you're not compromising the athlete and you're not compromising other relationships and values on the way. Okay, so, and I'm just checking here, Paul said fear is not sustainable. Thanks for that, Paul, appreciate that. You're right, fear is not sustainable. Some coaches will always, of course, conjure up different forms of fear. But you're right, in terms of being a motivator, it's not sustainable. So thank you very much for that engagement there. So let me get back on track. Values, that's what I'm getting onto here, okay? So our values are what's going to define how we approach our coaching. Okay, so what are our values as an individual? And for a long time, I didn't know what mine were. I had no idea. Even when I was asked, the first time I was asked, and I took months thinking about it and reflecting, and I still didn't know. It probably took me a couple of years to really start to figure out and understand and be able to define and articulate what my values are as a coach. Everyone has values, okay, we live by them, and our behavior is almost a reflection of what our values are. So you could have people with what we would deem to have or be poor values, which basically just means they're a misalignment of what ours are. Okay, we want to make sure that our process of coaching, of course, is in line with our values and is in line with the outcome, and we're forming a positive process of coaching around that. Now, if we've got bad values, we're probably going to coach badly as well. Okay. So today's discussion is all about, as always, raising awareness to some of these things. Okay, raising awareness. Now, the ego, which is our social mask, if you like, it's how we want to be perceived by others in some respects, okay, can often cause problems. Because actually, if you removed ego, you might feel that you don't need competition results to validate your abilities as a coach. Okay, so if your athletes went to a competition and they did a really good job, that might validate and you might feel, I'm a really good coach, and people think I'm a really good coach. That makes me feel good. Okay, now if you went to the competition and your athlete didn't perform well, because your ego, okay, and the way that you perceive success, yeah, you might come away thinking, I'm a terrible coach, this person is judging me, okay, and you've lost that feeling of almost self-gratification, but validation from other people that you're seeking, because often our ego makes us seek the approval of others in order to be fulfilled, which is not what we want, of course. We want to, have self-mastery. We don't need validation from other people in order for us to be a great coach, okay? It's just that society will obviously applause and praise certain things that go on more than others. Now, if we're seeking praise and validation through results, because that's what the media do, that's what gets the attention, that's what fans like, okay, that's a dangerous place to go to because you get drawn into that and you'll start to do whatever you can in order to get that approval and get that validation. Yeah. Whereas actually, if you're less interested about that, if you've got so much, if you've mastered this state of self, to the point that you are free from seeking approval and needing validation from others, then you won't go that way. You won't need to go in that direction. Okay, and you'll probably be more process orientated rather than results orientated, or focus too much on the results. Okay, so a lot of it comes down to our self-awareness and our understanding of ego and emotional intelligence and all these things that I talk about an awful lot. So as I said before, there's nothing wrong with having performance goals, and actually I really encourage it. I think, I work at high level. I wouldn't be a high level coach if I didn't have some form of desire to help the athletes get to a high level position. If it just didn't matter to me at all, then I'd be no good in those environments, because I wouldn't push the athletes to improve. I wouldn't be helping them. And I probably wouldn't be an asset in those environments. I'd be a liability because I'd just be too relaxed about everything. So this is not a question of whether you should have goals which are results focused, because I don't necessarily disagree with that, although there is some context around that needs to be considered. It comes down a little bit to your ethical compass or your moral compass. Yeah? Can you achieve high-level results with an amazing process? And when I say amazing, I mean a positive one for the athlete. I genuinely believe, yes, and I've seen it. I think I'm part of it. I deliver in that way myself. And my philosophy as a coach is to produce athletes that are happy, healthy, and hungry. Those are the three things which are important to me. Happy, healthy, and hungry to learn, of course. Okay? Is my athlete happy? Are they physically and mentally healthy? And are they hungry to learn? So ultimately, did they even have the desire to be in this environment? Okay? That's my philosophy as a coach. That's what guides me in terms of the coaching and the teaching process. I'm able to form that philosophy through an understanding of what my values are as a coach and what's important to me. Okay? Now, it's all well and good me saying this, but I have to say that when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, I didn't think in this manner. This was not the way that I thought about coaching. It actually was all about me. It was about my ego. It was about validating myself through the approval and praise of others. It was all about recognition. And it didn't just stop at 18, 19 years old. It took time. And I think this is part of the maturation of a coach, as well as me as an adult, but also as a coach. Yeah? And you'll find a lot of young coaches, not just young coaches, but a lot of young coaches, because they've got so much energy and they haven't got much life experience, that they will approach coaching in this way. It's about them. The result is important in order to validate themselves. The athlete is a vessel to get the coach success, okay? And it takes time sometimes to grow out of that. It takes mentorship. It might take negative experiences. It definitely takes guidance. It takes an increase of self-awareness on why you do what you do. But over time, fortunately, I grew out of that. Okay, so if you've got other coaches and people in your team that have that feeling towards their work, don't necessarily judge them, support them, help them, nurture them so that they can grow and mature as a coach. Okay, because that energy, you want to harness that energy. You just might want to change a little bit around the mindset of whether it's coach-centered or athlete-centered. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions here. And you can, of course, please feel free to drop it in the comments, the answers, or just reflect on them. But the main one here is when do you know that you've been successful as a coach? Okay, how will you know that you have been or are successful as a coach? What does that mean to you? Okay, and this will mean something completely different. And please don't just write down what you think I want to hear, okay? I don't even have to write anything down at all. But just be honest with yourself. How are you currently measuring your success? Is it all down to your athlete's competition results? Okay, or is it deeper than that? Okay, does it go further than that? Are the results an indicator of success, or at the minute, in your mind, is that the main contributing factor to how successful how successful you are as a coach? So just think about that first one, okay? How do you know that you've been successful? Okay, James, thanks for your comment. When you're gymnasts, keep coming back to your class. Very cool. Thank you very much. I like that. And I'm sure you can go deeper on that, of course, and say, they keep coming back to their class, feeling in this way, But yeah, thank you very much. That is a lovely contribution. I appreciate the engagement. Okay, so just be reflecting. Now, on the flip side, I'm going to ask you the opposite question. This one is sometimes easier for people to understand or to not to understand, to answer. And that is, when would you have failed as a coach? So what would need to have happened for you to say, I failed as a coach? Okay, I failed in my role as a coach working with these athletes. Okay, so just reflect on that. And again, you might want to write these down. So when do you know you've been successful? When do you know that you failed? Okay, and I'm just going to, as you're thinking about those, I'm just going to read out some other bits here. What do you think about the question, why I'm a coach? That one should do that exercise. Why I'm a coach? Yep. Emilio, I think that's a great question as well. Why do I coach? Fantastic. Natalie, when a gymnast thanks you, when your gymnasts return for more, when your gymnasts tell you what they want to achieve and you work together. Absolutely. Awesome. The trust of the athlete. Brilliant. Some great answers here. These are great reflections. Okay. And again, you might not have clarity on this. I'm here to plant the seed. I'm just here to get you thinking. Okay. Because the more aware you are as a coach is what your motivator is, what your values are, your philosophies, your ethics, what's important to you. Actually, the easier it is for you to coach and the more effective you'll be as a coach. Okay, you might be able to identify actually that, you know, you've got some motivators, almost some demons, some skeletons, which are causing you to want to coach in a certain way. And you might be taking a step back, you know, in this reflective period now and going, you know what, I need to change. Maybe when I go back to the gym, I need to make some changes. Okay. Natalie, when your gymnast leaves because they have fallen out of love and they don't come back to coach, you'll be a young leader. So that will be in response to the question, when do you know you failed? Thank you very much. Thanks, Natalie. Appreciate that. Yeah, ultimately, I think that's a really nice answer there. Okay? When do you know you've succeeded? When do you know that you failed? How do you measure the success of others? Okay? So what does it take for another coach to get your praise? And I've been on this journey myself. I'm sure a lot of you have. I mean, I hear it all the time. And it frustrates me a little bit now when I hear a coach say, oh my God, that person is an amazing coach. And actually what they're saying is they're an amazing technician. Okay? They're saying that they're an amazing technician in terms of they've been able to teach skills to an athlete to a very high level. So maybe the physical ability is great, the technical performance is great, the routines are fantastic. But we must understand the difference between being a technician and being a fantastic coach, because they are completely different things. Yeah? If you think about what the role of a coach is, it is entirely different to just teaching skills. Okay, and if I go to the knowledge quadrant, actually, let me find my knowledge quadrant. Where are we on here? Okay. You've got these 4 different areas. I've referred to this before. So, you know, knowing yourself, knowing the athlete, knowing the sport, knowing how to teach. Well, you can have a very good technician who knows the sport, really knows the sport inside out. Okay, but they don't have an ability to know how to teach or to know themselves enough or to know the athlete. So they deliver very good performances. Okay, but actually the process to get there is terrible. It's atrocious. And so we've got to be careful of when a coach is basically saying, or perhaps your own self saying, they're an incredible coach. Look at that. Look at the gymnasts they've produced. They're unbelievable. Whereas actually what you might be alluding to is the fact that they're a great technician. So I'm often asked the question, oh, are they a good coach? I don't really know. So they've got some really good gymnasts, but I don't know how good they are as a coach. And sometimes people look at me like, what do you mean? I said, well, all I know is that they can produce the outcome. I have no idea what that process was. Okay? And I just sit on the fence and just say, you know, until I know otherwise, I can't really tell you what I think about that. Okay? Massive difference between being a technician and being a coach. Okay? What else have we got here? Helen, shared values, doing their best, helping, producing good people. Yeah, helping, producing good people. Fantastic. Thank you, Helen. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. Another question for you. I like this one. Is a wealthy drug dealer a successful business person? Okay, is a wealthy drug dealer a successful business person? Just reflect on that. Actually, stick it in the comments. I'd love to know. Okay, so you've got, and it's very cliche, but let's say you've got somebody who deals drugs. Okay, deals drugs to the community, and you know the local drug dealer and providing drugs to loads of people, and they're earning loads of money for it. They've got a fantastic house. They've got loads of holidays. They've got fancy car. Yeah. As a business person, would you deem them to be successful? If yes, why? If no, why? I'd love to know. Okay, I'd really be interested to know what your opinion is on that. And then, of course, how we can relate that to this topic of coaching gymnastics or coaching athletes and what that would look like. Okay, so I'm going to just take a sip of this while I'm waiting for your comments. So, is a wealthy drug dealer a successful business person? Guys, if you haven't done already, I'd love it if you can share this video still as well. I'm sure you'll agree there's some valuable content in here that would really benefit the gymnasts, really, within the coaching, and the coaches, of course, within the community. Okay, so Thomas, surely it depends on their goals. Okay, thank you for that. Yes, they know their market and participants. Okay. Thank you guys for your comments. I appreciate it. Let's see if there's any more. Yes, but the ethics is wrong. Okay. Are they money-driven, service-driven, product-driven? Give a business masterclass soon here. Thanks, Thomas. So why I want you to reflect on this question, and Marina has alluded to it here, saying that the ethics is wrong, okay, is about understanding, like, can we have success, like that type of success, by compromising values and morals and ethics? Okay, so let me ask the same kind of question, but more now within the gymnastics world or the coaching world. Okay, is a coach to a high-level international medalist successful if they've taught in an abusive manner? Okay, are they a successful coach if they've taught in an abusive manner? Okay, so that's the flip side of it here, and I'm sure most of you would immediately say no. Okay, at least I would hope so, because that's what I want us to be thinking about here, is the difference between the process and the outcome. We can't judge success by outcomes alone. They are a contributing factor. Okay, and yes, as Thomas mentioned, it depends on the individual's goals. Okay, but we're talking here about values and morals. Now, personally, I'd say that, yeah, okay, the drug dealer would have an understanding of business. They've been able to earn money. They've obviously got a model that worked. But I personally couldn't say that they are a successful individual, okay, because they've compromised a lot of values and ethics to get there. But they are my values, of course, and mine as well. So, yeah, Danica, yes, if success is money, no, if related to my ethics. Thanks very much. And again, these are just questions that we don't need to establish the right or wrong answer. They're just there to provoke thought. I'm just trying to plant the seed here so you can relate this to sport as well. So another question would be, if you were coaching your athletes, or there was a coach working with athletes and achieved great results, okay, performed very well, but those athletes had low self-esteem, low self-confidence, low self-worth, didn't enjoy the experience, would you deem that coach to be successful? Okay, again, I personally, against my values, I would say no. Yeah, that the process is as important as the outcome. I'm not willing to compromise the athlete's enjoyment, their happiness, healthiness, hungriness to learn in order to achieve the results. But it comes down to your measure of success. And I'm hoping your measure of success is not just outcome focused at the expense of the process. That's a win at all costs mentality, which is obviously frowned upon. Okay, but just reflect on what yours are here. Can we differentiate between success and goals? So ultimately, can you be successful without having achieved your goals yet? And this is a question that I've just thought about this morning. I don't have the answer to it. It's just a reflective thought. Okay, a thought-provoking question. Because we certainly can have it the other way around. We can have achieved a goal without being successful. So is it possible for us to be successful without achieving the goal? You know, a lot of the time we basically say or assume, I think, that unless they've achieved a status, they are not successful. Now, that could be financial, it could be a result, could be a high-level job or position in an organization. We would say that very, very successful, they've got this job. Very successful, they're a millionaire. Well, can you be super successful without achieving your goal? Okay. That's what I'm asking you now. Again, I don't have the answer. I'm not here to preach or tell you what's right or wrong. It's a case of just being reflective. My thoughts are that, yes, that I can now be a successful individual, okay, by my measure of success, which I'll talk about later, okay, but I've not yet achieved my goals. I've achieved some goals, but my ultimate goals, I'm probably 20 years off. But I still deem myself to be a success in what I'm doing. Can I be more successful at what I'm doing? Absolutely. Okay. Am I being successful at what I'm doing? Yes. Is an abusive coach who's producing high-level results being successful in what they are doing? Well, that would all depend on the opinion of He was judging that individual. Okay, in my perspective, no, they're not being successful, but that's based on my values, okay, my philosophies as a coach and an individual. I also look at this in a slightly different way, that there are certain conditions which lead some coaches to having great results. And I'm not detracting or retracting from that at all. That is awesome. But some of those conditions could be a coach that works with 3 gymnasts. They are employed full-time, so they're on a salary. They don't have kids, so they've got like little responsibilities outside of the gym. They just work with these 3 athletes. Sounds like a pretty nice deal, don't they? And they're very talented kids. Now, in those circumstances, in those conditions, that is an amazing situation to be able to produce high performance results. And the coach might do that. And they might do that in a very ethical way with great values and morals and be a fantastic coach and technician. Okay, and we would look at that coach and say they are successful. Quite right. They've put themselves in an environment. They've created the conditions around them. They've gone and sought learning opportunities. They found the opportunity to be in that position. So they have been successful in my eyes. Okay, they've got the results. They've got an amazing process. Fantastic. But let's also look at another coach. Let's say that it's a mum of 2 kids. Okay. And she works as a teacher in the day, and she also works as a gymnastics coach in the evening. So she doesn't see her kids much. She's working flat out. She might need to do that to pay the bills. Okay, perhaps she's even a volunteer at the gym, and it's what she loves doing. But also she's got the teaching role, which pays the bills. Yeah, and she works with 12 kids in a non-purpose-built environment, and she's taking kids on that are not particularly talented, but they're doing a very, very good job with those athletes. Now, as often this stigma, that coach takes those low-level kids to a competition, and maybe they're really low-level kids, and we look at those sometimes. A lot of people do, and they say, "Oh God, that's not a very good coach." Okay, bad coaching. Actually, when I look at that, I think this person epitomizes what coaching is all about. It's about service. It's about giving. Yeah, and what that person is sacrificing as well for themselves, like time, they're volunteering their time. They might not be seeing their kids as much because they're giving and contributing to others. They're giving these kids a chance. Could be an amazing person in the gym with them, building up their self-esteem and self-worth. So we often look at those 2 people and say, well, this is a more successful person because they've produced high-level results. This person is doing low performance. Actually, we have to reflect on that and say, okay, are we judging success in the right way? It's not just about what you see when you go to a competition. It's not just about the results. Some of the best coaches that I know are recreational coaches, are preschool coaches. Some of the best coaches that I know. They instill amazing values and fun into the kids. They're very ethical. It's an enjoyable experience. Yeah, that is some of the best coaching I've seen. The highest performers can be rec coaches. All right? So really just want you, again, the whole purpose of this is not for me to be here and preaching. It's about me trying to get you to reflect. Just try and get you to think about these things so you can really consider, when will you know that you've been successful? What does success mean to you? Okay, when would you have failed? And are you on that path or are you not on that path, hopefully? Okay, and how do you really deem whether another coach is successful or not? Now, my measure of success, like I said before, when I was 17, 18, it was all about kudos, it was all about ego, it was all about approval and validation from other people. And a lot of that comes down to insecurity. When you constantly seek the approval of others, it's basically a reflection of being insecure. And I can hold my hands up and say, that was me. Now, I'm a lot less insecure now as an individual because I've done a lot of self-work. I've got more self-awareness of who I am and as an individual. And I don't need the validation of others. I don't need the approval of others or the praise. Do I enjoy it? Absolutely. I love a bit of recognition. I like appreciation. I like to know that I'm contributing and helping people out. But it's not my definition of success now, okay, because I'm not driven by ego. Okay, I'm driven by a mission. I'm driven by a purpose. And if I was to sum up my measure of success, it's contribution or impact. Okay, how am I contributing to the world? Am I giving or am I just taking? And when I feel like I'm contributing, I'm really happy, which has a lot less to do with ego. Okay, because giving, contribution is actually one of our human needs. Okay, so the more we contribute, the better we feel about ourselves. So contribution, impact is how I measure my success. Am I having a positive impact on the people around me? Have I positively impacted coaches? Have I positively impacted athletes? The more people I can contribute and impact to positively, the more fulfilled I am, the more I will measure myself as being successful. If I can educate 20,000 coaches in a year, I feel like I've made a great contribution. I would say I'm being successful in my role, as long as, of course, my ethics and my values and society's ethics and values, or morals, if you like, the moral compass, has not been compromised on the way. Okay? Money. Money is important in order for me to contribute, but it's not my outcome that I'm working towards. So, would being a millionaire help me on my mission? Absolutely. Having millions of pounds, okay, and tens of thousands of customers which are contributing to that money all around the world helps me to drive more money into the business, to employ more staff, to run bigger events, to attract better speakers, to have a bigger team. All of that cash helps me to deliver my mission and helps me to become achieve my measure of success, which is impact and contribution. Okay, so money, people say that money is the root of all evil. Well, money could be a root of evil depending on who is using that individual, who is using that cash, what individual. Okay, it's not my measure of success, but it's certainly going to contribute to doing so, to having an impact on the gymnastics community. I'm just going to flick through to see if there's any other comments here. Love to know what you think about this, guys, whether this is thought-provoking or not. Again, if you haven't done already, I'd love it if you could share the message, because there are coaches out there that might need to hear this information. Successful if learning and having fun is my definition of success, but didn't make the goal of team selection. Emilio, I agree. Teach fundamental gymnastics is good coaching. Yep. I know the process and the contributions in the basics levels for the future. You're absolutely right. Yep. Awesome. Good stuff. Just going to wait another moment for any sort of questions, thoughts, reflections that you might have on this topic. For those of you that have just joined, some key questions. When do you know that you've been successful as a coach? When would you know that you failed in your role as a coach? How do you measure the success of others? Is a wealthy drug dealer a successful business person? All questions that I've asked you guys to reflect on today's Facebook Live. Awesome. Okay, got no further questions coming through. Guys, thanks for joining me today. Hope this has been thought-provoking. As you know, my mission, as I've just said, is about contribution, impact, in impacting the gymnastics world and the sport world, actually, as best that I can. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. I want you to be able to hear these messages and get a high level of education. Now, part of that, of course, is offering different services and products to the gymnastics community, which helps people take their coaching to the next level as well. And for those of you that don't know, I've got a membership program called the Gymnastics Growth Academy, which does just that. It helps coaches, or helps them to soften the learning curve, basically, of gymnastics coaching at all levels, but with a context of performance gymnastics, because that's obviously my world. And over the last 6 years, that's what I've been involved with. I've worked with over 20 international federations, literally thousands of gymnastics clubs and coaches in all sorts of parts of the world and different areas of the world. And I would really recommend that you take a look at this program. We've currently got members in 19 different countries, which is absolutely fantastic. It's been out now about 7 weeks. It's the start of the lockdown, actually, just a few days before. And I can say we've got over 200 people within the Gymnastics Growth Academy that are getting a lot of benefit from the content. So there are live calls just like this, which are more content focused rather than discussion focused, every single week. We've got some of the masterclass recordings, which are not yet available to the wider community in there. We get some reflective questions put in there. Lots of content to do with technique, physical preparation, and all the different learning models that you'll see here up on screen. We talk about the pyramid of preparation. We talk about the octagon. We talk in more detail about the coaching quadrant. We talk a lot about the equalizer model. Okay, we share other models like the daily dozen physical preparation model. We've got the 4 principles of acrobatics. There's 6 pillars of acrobatics as well. The high performance health check. These are all models that we're going to go into great amount of detail to. within the Gymnastics Growth Academy membership area. We've already started delving into it, and we've got more of that coming soon as well. And before we sign off, I'm just going to show you a little bit more information about that program now. Are you keeping a watchful eye on your athletes' adaptations? This is a program that your athletes will perform every single training day and is used to develop their level of baseline conditioning.
We want the shoulders to be open. That's it, very good. The body nice and long, that's good.
We're trying to isolate the top of the back, build the pyramid of preparation. The higher the skill level, the more unstable the tower or the athlete will become. I'm giving you the recipe, you just need to choose the ingredients.
That might be an element, it might be a routine. From here, find your chest. This is connection drill.
We want the athlete to have a really balanced push and pull ratio. And we are live. Welcome to the Gymnastics Growth Academy live broadcast. Be the best version of you because that's all you can control. Cast to handstand, upper body weight transfer, 8 and 15 repetitions.
He's sickling in this foot. Make sure that's clean and classy.
9 and rest, good.
So our job as coaches is to ensure the athlete fulfills their long-term potential. Anything is learnable, and that's what this academy is about. Just commit to being the best version of yourself possible. Until next time, raise your standards. So that was the Gymnastics Growth Academy, my brand new membership and mentorship program. You can find out more about that at gymnasticsgrowth.com or by visiting my website, nickruddock.com, and navigating in the menu to the Gymnastics Growth Academy page. Now, we've got a couple of questions that have come in and comments that I'd like to discuss before we go. And a really good one here. Emilio said, at what point did you understand your role as a gymnastics consultant? I'm grateful for that question, actually. Thank you very much. It's an interesting topic because, again, when I first started in the role of what I essentially do now, it was still about me. It was very much driven about probably proving myself. There was definitely some ego in there. And fortunately, over the years, I've been doing this about 6 years now, that is completely changed around. Now, do I still have an ego? Yes, we all do. Is it managed much better? Yes. I don't feel like my ego is at the detriment of what I do at all. We all have an ego. The ego is what drives us to be successful in some ways. Of course, again, depending on what your measure of success is. Now, it really hit home to me probably 2 years ago when I was working with a particular nation, and I realized the sense of responsibility that I had. So it wasn't just about could I do this? Do I have the skill and ability to help? It was about the responsibility to help. And I realized that this was just, one particular nation that still just didn't get it. And I think, for me, I'm so busy with producing content, traveling the world, working with clients, and all I see is the good stuff that I'm doing. And then actually I can easily walk into a gym and see how poor coaching is in some areas. And when I say poor, I mean how poor the delivery of coaching is. Okay, so just they might know the sport, but they just don't know how to teach. Kids are being compromised. Their happiness is being compromised. And I really felt I suffered because of it. I really felt emotionally upset about it. It was traumatic. I was just I've got such a responsibility here to try and help the gymnastics community. But that's not me coming from a place of I'm the guru and I'm the answer to the problems. It's because actually we all have a sense of responsibility to do that. Okay, I have been fortunate enough and have worked hard to build a platform which allows me to positively impact the gymnastics community, to impact coaches, to educate people, and that people believe that they can and should and are willing to listen to what I've got to say. I've had to work on that, but I need to use that as in a positive way. Okay, so I really now feel a sense of responsibility to help, because there's nothing worse for me than thinking of the 13-year-old gymnast, in a random country that's being coached terribly. Okay, they're being shouted at. There's no concept of preparation, so they're actually at massive risk of injury. They're going to have self-esteem and self-confidence issues. They've got a really terrible feeling of self-worth that they're going to carry in for their whole life, and then impact the children that they might have in the future. Okay, because of this coach that is non-self-aware and doesn't have the skills. And that really bothers me, like really, really bothers me. And so if I can try and change that for all those little gymnasts, okay, and of course improve the quality of life of that coach as well. Because ultimately, when we're coaching through fear, yeah, if we're so focused on results because we have fear, and because we're not free from judgment from others, we're not free from attachment, we're not free from materialism, we're not free from social status, we're not free from validation and approval of others, kudos. If we're not free from that, if we're like imprisoned by wanting and needing all those things, that's not a nice way for us to live as individuals either. It's not just about the athlete, it's about freeing the coach from that state of suffering. Like I see that as suffering. Constantly craving materialism, constantly craving kudos and recognition from others is a form of suffering, I believe. And I've been there, and I'm not here to preach. I'm not free from all of that stuff as well. I want a fancy car on the drive. That's a materialistic thing that I also strive for. Okay? But that really, in answer to your question here, Emilio, is why now I feel a sense of responsibility, and I think I understand my role as a gymnastics consultant, okay? It's why I take great pride in the resources that I produce and the content that I produce and the people that I impact. And I know that, for all my faults as an individual and as a coach, I still know that I am being successful in my mission. And if today was my last day on the planet, I could say, you know what, I've had a positive impact on the gymnastics world, and hopefully that legacy would continue moving forwards. Okay, so that is, I mean, really there I've summarised kind of why I do what I do now. I often get asked the question, why do you not coach gymnasts anymore? Well, I still do. I work with gymnasts in national team environments. I do them on, consulting trips at high and low level clubs in the UK and overseas. I do work with athletes. I just don't have a personal coaching relationship with any of them. Okay, but my mission is not so much driven by at the minute, taking an athlete from start to finish and going on that journey. It's actually, well, how can I have the greatest impact on gymnastics? And for me, that's not in one environment. It's about, creating resources like this, doing live calls, doing the podcast, working with my inner circle clients, and actually have a much bigger contribution to gymnastics doing that. Now, that's not to say I won't return to personal coaching at some point in the future. Who knows? I might do, I might not. It depends where I am on my mission, but the ultimate mission won't change. It'll be a case of I will continue to do everything I'm doing right now, and I would coach as well. For that to happen, I would need a gym, a bigger team, etc., etc. Okay, so that's just a few thoughts there. So thank you very much for that question. Hope that answers it. Rabin, love the subject matter. Thank you very much. Love this part of the journey. Yep, thank you. Thomas, have I got any more lives coming up over the next week or so? Thanks for that question. I have tomorrow at 5 p.m. at UK time. So depending on when you're watching this, that is going to be Thursday, 5 p.m. UK time. I've got Kyle Schufelt, okay, an absolute legend in the gymnastics world. He is going to be interviewed on Gymnastics Growth TV. I haven't advertised it yet, but that'll be 5 p.m. on Thursday. Interview with Kyle Schufelt. So that's Canadian Kyle Schufelt. Really, really looking forward to that and discussing him. He was one of my sort of role models, if you like, or maybe role model is the wrong word because he was a gymnast and I was never a high-level gymnast, but I've always loved his gymnastics. When I first got into coaching, I remember me and my friend Ross, sitting in my front room watching the Athens Olympics, and Carl was just banging out the most incredible floor routines, and those floor routines still to this day are some of the best that have ever been produced. So, unbelievable respect for that guy, and he's now a fantastic gym owner and business owner in Canada, doing great things in the community. So we're going to be talking to Kyle Schufelt tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's Thursday at 5 p.m. right here on Gymnastics Growth TV. Amy Tinkler's joined us. Hi, Tinks. Thanks for joining. So there we go. That was this Facebook Live talking about your measure of success as a coach. Really, really consider this, guys. This is where the magic happens. This is the stuff that makes the difference, okay? We obviously all want to be coaching ethically, okay? But have in your mind what that measure of success is. Hopefully, you're going to be thinking more about the process and not just the outcome. Can you have both? Yes. Should you strive for both? Yes, there's nothing wrong with that at all, okay? But don't have the outcome without a fantastic process for either you or the athlete as well. It's all about understanding, of course, your values and your philosophies. It just needs a little bit of thought. Now, thanks for watching this episode of Gymnastics Growth TV. Hopefully you'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. to join myself and Kyle Schufelt. And before you go, I'm just going to show another quick video about the masterclass recordings, which are currently available on my website, nickruddock.com. There's over 22 hours of live event recordings across all apparatus which are available, and again, thousands of coaches are accessing these from all different parts of the world. So if you want to check out those masterclass recordings, do so at nickruddock.com, and here's a quick video about those. It's the first of 6 masterclasses. Today is all about vault and sprint development. Just very excited about the fact that we're all here together. People have a love for bars.
I'm going to certainly demonstrate some of the passive and more active ways in which I would prepare something that's in contact with the floor constantly.
Keep that hand close. Don't let me see your ears. Bent knees, closed shoulders, okay?
Conversations about how you can take some of these ideas, implement it at home, and improve the level of your athletes. How can we take young athletes and develop them on a high performance pathway? Jodie's been one of the top coaches in the UK, produced multiple athletes on the GB team.
We want open chest, we want long spine, so we can create some extra tension on the top half of the hamstring.
So the amount of swing that she has coming from the top bar is greater than what she has on the low bar. You're carrying the speed from the round off flick into a takeoff. All you're going to do is send that rotation flying. You can have no chance at all.
A bit higher, good.
It's all in the same family of movement.
There's no need to jam that hip shut. Do you see how knocking out that vestibular system and the eye focus changes how people balance?
Stops it from getting boring. There's nothing worse than having a predictable program. But couple that with great energy in the gym, great motivation, high standards, all of that together, that's going to have an impact on your athletes. And there we have it. That's the masterclass recordings. Thank you very much again for being here and watching this episode of Gymnastics Growth TV. Back tomorrow at 5 p.m. with Kyle Schufelt. Look forward to seeing you then.